for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumine, beloved divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today, and of course the Elohim family. So I haven't done an Elohim video message for quite a long time, and as you know, I don't do these messages on YouTube as frequently anymore because my life just turned into a wider network, and one thing is to be a spirit guide, and a whole other level is to be a giver of life. And this is this higher work of soul alchemy I'm doing at this time, and it's very intense. It's an intensive training 24/7. So today I want to talk about, or we as a family of light, we want to talk about the current state of affairs and energies from a higher, bigger perspective of the illumined ones. So the illumined ones don't see life as humans see it, because humans are still attached to what needs to stay. We are preserving things that we believe need to be and exist, and yet the framework of this operational divine intelligence of the mother, the giver of life, is so beyond what we perceive life to be. And you know, the energies that support life and density in a certain way are changing, and therefore we as a human collective must sort of like align with that higher wisdom. So this is why I was teaching for so many years now about the importance of life force mastery and directive, because people are going to notice more and more, and I was very subtly but also consciously warning about this fact that people are going to feel more and more oppression, not just in the world but in their own lives. And as we're meeting forces of oppression, we're all assisting to liberate the goddess each in our own way. However, like Spirit always tells me, no one can assign to this higher mission of life force unification with the planetary life force if they don't do the work of removing all the human obstructions in the body. So the body as the vessel needs to be prepared. So there's many people who are not as mature yet in their developmental stages, which would sometimes mean that they prematurely or in a very early way access certain more advanced spiritual content, which makes their mind assigned to what they believe they wish would happen or what they believe would be real for some reason. A lot of times the cause is sort of like emotional distress within many people who pursue a spiritual path to sort of like get that, it's almost like that sense of filling up something that before was void and was lacking. And yet this is not what this higher spiritual pursuits are about. One really needs to devote wholeheartedly, whole bodily, you know, on all levels to this mission, because it's not just something that it just happens. You don't just say, oh Spirit, let me be your vessel, you know, and you can't just channel these higher energies because they're so raw in their format, in the way they come through. And I'm working with them now for this year as I'm mastering this giver of life essence. They come in such a raw way that if you're not clear, they're going to trigger all the human buttons. They're going to trigger all the emotional responses, because this is how these energies come. They want a clear space. They want a mature being. They want an individual who understands things and the way they occur. They don't want someone who is spiritually so high and above and calling themselves pillar or whatever without even knowing how that is carried out into the world, because truly a pillar is someone who's strong. We have to be really strong. It's not someone who needs to constantly withdraw and go away to meet that space within them. Because these current energies at this day and age, they're so intense that we cannot stay in the mind any longer. So this is how the goddess, as the essence of life giving, that's what the goddess truly means. It's the mother of all life. It's not a woman. It's not even a man, you know, with feminine energies. It is that which is beyond all. It's the essence of life itself, and spirit is life itself. Spirit is not spirituality or the pursuit of that. So when we get that down and dirty, right, I'm being really authentic here with what my family of light is sharing with me and showing to all of us, is we really have to get clear. And the path of devotion and commitment to that is going to remove the last vestiges of what my team calls the New Age veils, because now these passageways for most humans are not easy, because it's very simple or easy to believe you're at a certain stage in your life, like you want to be at that doorway and yet you're not yet. And it gets very difficult for people once they meet these aspects that are more challenging, because they want to believe they're rather somewhere they're not yet. And when they see this is more work than they imagine, and it's more difficult than what they thought, and they can't commit in a bigger way, most of them will just withdraw or quit, or, you know, remove themselves in some way and say, this is not for me, or, you know, even sometimes distrust the path in itself. That's why now, like I've shared with you before, the path is narrowing down and it's just happening, and I've been noticing it. People are just coming and going, and Spirit always says people will always be people until they meet that level of the life giver within, of life and death as one. As what does life for us truly mean, and how do we stay in that neutral benevolence and polarity integration, which has no projections like this is what we want life to be, this is how we believe energy should act for us and for this planet, because we don't have a bigger perspective truly, unless, like my team tells me, it takes a very committed, very integrated individual, a very mature spirit being that truly can do this work. They can see it right in the face, stare it right in the eye, and don't quit. Because what my team has actually shared with me is that a lot of volunteer souls on this planet, they've seen this planet as a lost cause, and they've actually quit. A lot of them have left because it was too intense for their vibration to exist and meet the oppression of this world, because it is a certain interval of energy that we meet as in that differential, right, of energy when you have or carry a true high vibration, not here in the mind and saying you're a starseed, right? It doesn't happen in the head. It can produce a fully embodied, like fully blown embodied, authentic vibrational resonance within your whole field, which is your gateway. You yourself become a gateway when you resonate with that vibrational attunement. So it can't meet this level of work when it's happening here. And the mind is still so strong, because I've told you before, it can conjure up so many realities, and yet they're not as real as the life force indicates directly, right? It's a directly embodied pathway. So it takes a very committed, very strong individual that will see that this is a challenging process. And when people mostly encounter these challenges, they don't want to go through them. They see, oh, you know, there's something for me to go the other way. But mostly when you work with these advanced levels of mastery in Christ, Christ on earth, Christ in the body, this is a union. This is not a withdrawal of any nature. This is a vertical spiritual pursuit that is presented in a negative fashion, because it's supposed to connect us in our joy in Christ. It's a true Christ, not Christ in spoken word, but in embodiment. And it's not supposed to be wishy-washy. So today, you know, I shared a very authentic devotion video on my Patreon team page, and a beautiful devotee, like my fellow companion, she said to me, oh my God, it's so beautiful to be met from this raw space, this truly authentic space of truth, rather than that new age niceties that are now so, you know, seemingly apparent everywhere. And then, you know, on the other side of that is just flat, it's emptiness. It doesn't, you know, true spiritual path, like the path of spirit, no spiritual pursuits, the path when you're pursuing spirit itself to embody you, to incorporate you, and you're incorporating spirit, is just so beautiful. And yet it's so challenging. And that's why most people, when, you know, it's hard for them, it's even sad sometimes for them, it's difficult for them to see that they're not yet where they wish to be, because it's easier to see a glimmering picture, right, and say this is where I am, than say, wow, this is tough work. But it's not going to be done through isolation. It will be met through really a clear pathway of unity. And yet this is not a sort of a group kind of unity that makes you feel you belong. You need to belong to a certain framework or a group and act a certain way to fulfill your role. It's not about that. It's about being so clear within yourself who you are, where you belong, what's your essence, that just a natural occurrence of that union from within to without will occur. So because of that, because meeting polarity at each new level that these waves of energies are bringing is so intense, mostly people, when they can get to a certain level, and then it's like, you know, and it's normal, they need to do the work. But the problem now is what my team is showing me, that so many people can't actually do the work until they loosen the ego, the grip that tells them, but you are here. And yet they're not. You need to keep on walking. We need to keep on embracing the path as it is, not as we wish it to be. And it is so utterly challenging. And only the true embodier will tell you that. And I'm not a light worker at all. Absolutely not. I'm an integral being. I'm an embodier. We embody. That's what the creation pillar means. You embody all of life as it presents itself through the creation spiral of life. And you pursue it in your own way as best as you can. And you continuously show up. And even when it's difficult, you still show up and you don't quit. So my team always tells me they have absolute faith in me, that I'll do this. And at times, I don't have that faith in myself. I have to be honest. And I think I'm not going to be the one to do it. I won't reach that full Illumined union and birth it. And they said, you already did. And I'm like, what? I didn't. And it was a challenging path. And no one will have it easy, no matter what wave of energy you come, whatever child you call yourself to be, crystal, rainbow, magic, whatever. It's not about that. Each of us has to reach a certain maturity in the body so that the body, who represents the daughters of earth, right? That is the body, that's the vessel, can meet that resonant match of spirit. Otherwise, nothing will happen. The mind will conjure up stories and realities, and it will give you false data. It will give you false life information, false light. So a true embodier knows that you are where you are. You don't always see yourself as a master. That's okay. But you have to keep on walking. You have to keep on embracing. Because why? We're going to get to the next step, which is embracing the current state of affairs and energies from a neutral perspective, which is a life-giving perspective. So after this beautiful exchange with one of my companions, she said to me, I had a vision. And Pachamama, like Gaia, she has no intention of building or repairing or fixing the old cobwebs, right, of this old dense reality where a certain density space was being held for so long. And she clearly wants to birth the new. And all of us who are lumen beings, we see that very clearly. But like they said to me, it takes a very, very sovereignly embodied individual to see clearly, because they're unified with the planetary life force. And the planet speaks through you as you, the goddess, as the life giver, speaks through you. There's no more you giving false value, like you're reading the data, but then you're putting your own impressions upon what's truly happening. That's false. That's the false light. That's reality appearing as if. That's not reality as it is in absolute. Like, imagine a lumen team of light seeing. They see everything. The false and the life, right? The true life, the false light, the true love. Not the love that's just spoken as I love you, but the true love, the love that was brought forth as the gift of life by so many truly devoted individuals. Those that don't just quit when it gets hard or close up. And devoting to yourself, having time for yourself, has nothing to do with you also not participating in something greater than yourself, life in itself. This is not a path of, oh, I'm a hermit, I isolate because that's the only way I can do this. There's a certain devotion we can only achieve by knowing we're part of something, yes, beautiful butterfly, by knowing we're something much bigger than us ourselves. And when we feel we're part of something, like a framework, a network of something that's real and raw, and it's moving, and it doesn't just quit when it gets hard or someone shows up as very authentic, that's the right ones. And those of you who belong to this wave of energy, you are the ones. You are the ones. For others, I don't know. No one knows. They have to choose on their own. But that courage to speak up always authentically, to keep on showing up and not to isolate, because, that healthy withdrawal is not the same as isolation. I never isolate. I retreat to replenish, but even when I retreat, I'm always there. I'm always in a way, I'm always there. I need to live in both worlds. I can't go up, or then I descend down when I choose to. No, I'm always simultaneously in integrity. Human, divine is one. That's the true Christed, born flame, the sacred flame born in us. That's the true authenticity. That's not the quack, 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 quagmire reality. It's not about that. Not anymore. Because those of you who are truly tuned in, and that's the second part where I'm getting at, is you're starting to feel that the current energies are I've been living in this space, in these Alps, for almost 6 years now. August will be 6 years. And it's been a beautiful framework of me witnessing how these energies were changing, and they were amplifying. Every year was different. The weather was changing. The environment was changing. Things were leaving. Things were getting denser, more oppression. I'm like, this is no longer the place that used to be, that I remember from my childhood. It was so pristine. Only hikers and explorers and nature lovers used to come here. Now there's just tourists and motorbikers, and people just want to get the last vestiges of earthly sensual pleasures. And they're polluting and they're destroying and they're bringing negative energies, right? So it almost feels like how I'm shown that it's almost like these beings will feel something stirring up and changing, that this current density will no longer be supported in the long run, because we're going to speak about that as well, but it's changing. So it's almost like these people would feel, oh, so something is going to happen and eventually it's going to lead to a gradual shift. And it's almost like, when you know the store is going to close, you have a havoc because so many people come there and they want to get the last vestiges of food, right? And their baskets, and they have that fear mentality. It's not necessarily driven by fear, but everyone subconsciously, even the most disconnected people who live more in this third density alone, even they are connected to something bigger than themselves. It's a web of life. So they instinctively feel that something's going to change. So for me, it feels like they're trying to get the last vestiges of these earthly pleasures, and we need to use this, what we're given here, and let's pursue all this pleasure, activities. And it's very destructive, but it is what it is. And like the beautiful companion said, Earth herself at the core, which is a higher aspect of what we know as Earth, the surface, and she is going into the new. So now I'm coming to this point where now so much is spoken about the magnetic poles of the Earth to shift, right? That they're shifting. And from a scientific perspective, you have many channels on YouTube reporting about this, not just mainstream, right? Also individual channels, right? How to say that, independent channels and people doing this work. However, there is a huge misinterpretation of the way that truth is being translated, because people still have their individuality, the way they see life. They're not connected to this illumined perspective, so they see a tiny framework of what's actually happening. What I was shown as I was watching one of these videos just a few days ago, and it hit me because I started to cry because I felt the truth. And when I cry, it's that, remembrance, it's the cellular memory being triggered, and it activates you and it moves you, and that's the absolute truth, because that's how I know. That's how my body speaks to me. It's how spirit speaks within my body, not as a telepathic transmission. It's all in there. It is the body. The body is the wise one. So I was listening, and it moved me because suddenly I saw a bigger perspective when they started talking about Earth's magnetic fields shifting, and there are different magnetic influences, so the poles are splitting, and there's almost like a competition of the poles, and that weakens the Earth field. It's not as dualistic as they're trying to show us. The point is that Earth, the life that is held, biological life that's being supported, a certain life that exists within a certain vibrational density being supported in this current framework is shifting. And because that is occurring, because Earth is opening up, there's what we perceive to be this constant shifting, right? And magnetic nature is connected with the feminine side of life. The electric is the masculine. So it's the feminine pulse of life that's causing this a triggered response, because these cosmic energies, which are partially, as reflected through cosmic reactivity, they're moving through the stream of Earth. They're embracing it. Earth is starting to pulsate. It's her own reaction to that. It's a lovemaking. It's a convergence. It's just convoluted, right? It's actually converging, and it's a process, but we can't see the whole process, so we start to panic, and the human mind gets in the way, and science has all the answers, and knowledge will get us there, but it won't. In fact, it won't. So what I was shown is that Earth, the way she connects, right, to dimensional spaces, the way dimensional spaces are created and exist, are related to the magnetic fields that holds it all together. It's the same for us and our bodies, and the toroidal field that holds us in a certain space when we're embodied, right? So Earth is opening up, and in that space of transition, there's a lot of wobbly energy, and this is what we're feeling now. That's why now the energies are so, one moment, it's even reflected in the weather. One moment it's raining, then it's not, and it's the wind, and then it's warm again, and I've never seen such fast, speedy shifts as this year. it's speeding up. And I know that people who are measuring these things through the devices that they developed, they're saying, wow, it's speeding up exponentially, and it is. And we're feeling it in our bodies, and we're starting to feel that rise, and sometimes being more agitated, and like all the limits are being pushed, all the buttons are being pushed, and we're being squeezed at the same time. But whenever we're squeezed and pressured, it's like the way diamonds are made. They're being squeezed and pressured in the harshest of conditions, in the darkest of soils. That's how a diamond is made. No one becomes a master in living just a life of fulfillment and happiness and bliss, and it's all beautiful and rainbows, and a life of richness and prestige, and you know, all you do is, I don't know, retreats and yoga. And I'm not judging anything. I'm just saying it's not how masters are made. Masters are always born of, you know, when you look at those stories from the ancients, of stories that sort of like shatter the realm as the most people know it. And there are sort of like lifetimes of that which felt so oppressive and difficult, but suddenly when a master arises, they're ready to birth from a whole new level. And this is how a lot of you who resonate with what I'm saying here now, or what the team is saying, are feeling in your own life to be happening. And it's also one of the reasons why people are losing their either means of abundance, or the way they receive money, the way they're receiving support. People come and go, and like Spirit said, people are people, they have their own stuff. Only Spirit remains, only your core truth. Don't, you know, personalize these things, because it's all connected to what's happening on the planet. Look at everything from this hindsight, right? From this perspective. Don't get, you know, don't compartmentalize things, and don't get too bipartial in a way. Just see always through that withdrawal, which is healthy, not like removal from the world and what's happening, but a conscious withdrawal. You have to live in a state of conscious retreat. It's not healthy one moment you're out there and going, and then, oh, I need to isolate, and closing off, opening up. That's still kind of that shift when you're not yet in that space of really knowing who you are, because once you do, you don't need to do that anymore. You know who you are. You can always be authentic no matter what the condition on the outside. It's not supposed to be, your life force is not supposed to be influenced by anything. But because there's this, you know, interaction of the cosmic and the earthly, and there's a wobbly sort of sensation in the energies, and they're causing these responses that are now asking us to review our lives, and certain things that we say, oh, that's just always going to stay. Things like the way we make money, the way we live our lives. I know a lot of people who have great abundance and they're rich, and they have that mentality, this always stays, because they've managed to grab it, right? They have it, they hold it. But you don't hold anything yet but the consciousness that you possess already. That's the only thing you hold, right, Buggy? Come on, leave me to speak, right? Speak the truth. Just wants to go here. Anyway, right, a little of the innuendo here with the bug. But we take things for granted still, and they don't have a permanent nature. And we're shown by these tiny examples now how quick things can change. Anyone at this point in time can lose their home. People are already losing jobs, friendships, you know, people they once thought they can trust wholeheartedly. You really can't trust people 100%. You have to trust Spirit, and Spirit is life. You trust life, and if that person who's meant to be a part of your life in that moment, that was all fine. You trust. If they're not, doesn't mean you stop trusting people, because you never stop trusting life. Things like that. But life is showing us, God as the nature of life itself is showing us that the only steadiness is within, and that's why we were prepared by so many masters already who were showing this pathway to humanity, that the only stillness is that inner alignment. And yet we're not just inner beings. We exist, we live, we breathe, we commune, right? We learn through reflections, but it has to be seen from a space of, wow, what needs to shift, because all forms of security as we know it now are not going to always exist. One thing is the grid, the way we receive money. If we receive anything from the matrix, which we all do, even things like PayPal and so, I had my own issue this entire week when I was totally blocked. I couldn't access my money. Something was wrong, and I thought, okay, this is it, because just a while ago I was considering the fact that these things, if a strong energy wave comes, they're no longer going to be there. It just stays a number on the screen, which eventually is not even a number of the screen if there is no screen. But what I'm saying is we have to live in a state of constant preparation, constant preparedness, constantly showing up without any fear that, you know, we always will be creative. That's our spark that nothing can dim. When you have it, when it really flows through, that's the life force, and that's the only trust there should be within you. That is the origin of all the other trustees, right? All the other levels of trust. But that's your basic. That's supposed to be always your foundation, because that's how we work with the new energies, always meeting them from our inner vortex. But you are not in the vortex when you still have so much issues from within that you feel you need to struggle in life. You don't need to. But we all will meet oppression, because especially if you're a highly vibrational being, the density of this reality will react in a shattering way, because you're that which establishes the new, and naturally you're sort of like the threat to the status quo, and that's what the energies of physical reality will have, you know, will respond to you. And it's normal. I have the daily, I have it all the time. That's why for me to live even in the physical realm as an illumined being and one of their representatives, it's not easy. It's freaking difficult every day. I sometimes say to myself, I never have a break. I don't even have a holiday. I never have one moment. And when I do, I share and I record, because those moments I find is these loopholes when I can actually do that and share and show up. And then again, a new wave. And again, it's always like this now, because the energies are like this. And it's traveling so fast that we're not with the energy and learn to discern. Okay, we're now in a space of allowance. Ooh, now we need to push forth. Ooh, now we're initiating anew. Now we're alchemizing now. This is so required right now. That's why I myself needed to downsize the way and the amount of me showing up first on YouTube. Now I also need to do it on Patreon, because I'm always out there so much sharing. And it's just my own life, and the reflection of these energies is showing me it's time to show up now. It's time to do this life force work. And those of you who really want to do this, I have prepared so many courses for this. You know, Life Force Mastery course, Organic Trinity for Divine Ascension, or Trinity for Organic Ascension, Cosmic Dance, Cosmic Orgasm. All of these courses are specifically designed to work with life force. Little theory, but mostly practice, which you can do anywhere. You can do outside in nature, because that's where we are. That's our office. That's our field work. That's teamwork in the field work. And when I say teamwork, it's because there's so much presence here. It's not just you. Whenever you're outside in genuine nature and pure nature. And it's really intense. And I also did the planetary service as well as the mastery courses level. And the last one, which is super intense, is the mastery of Elohim consciousness and illumined creation. And these are designed in a way to assist beings to truly anchor the highest consciousness level that is now so needed on the planet. Because Earth, as she's going with that, she also requires support, just like we do. Imagine you existing alone in the wilderness. Now you feel you have the safety of your home and the four walls and the security. But what if we don't have that? We can't depend just on ourselves, right? Survival of the fittest is not just survival of the isolated being. It's every man for himself, or every woman for herself. Doesn't mean you're always alone. You're alone in your mastery, but only in that higher, larger than life, you know, aspect. People have survived even the past ages, you know, the ages when life already went to sleep and was awoken to a new level. And I strongly feel this is what it's happening again in a new way that's unpredictable, it's unseen, and it's supposed to be that way. It's a mysterious path, and the goddess always tells us, embrace the journey within your own spectrum. Don't try to finalize what's happening, and don't try to see the whole picture. See the bigger picture, but you're never going to see the whole picture unless you really unify with huge amounts of consciousness. That is quite a work, and it's quite an undertaking, and it's not for everyone. But it's okay. You know, everyone can do this in their own way to meet life from a totally benevolent, neutral perspective. When you no longer try to save things. Oh, I'm a light worker, I will do this work in order to save that. That's all ego. No one as an individual has the answers to what, you know, what's the divine plan. A true devotion is trusting that these energies are now rewriting life anew from within us, because they are working through us if we only allow them. And if we have our own fixed ideas, we can allow them. They will not be, you know, effortlessly moving through us. And I'm noticing myself when I do this work, sometimes it's super intense, but when I do it, it all just opens up first there's an obstruction, then I like fuse all of this life force I have. It's like it becomes me, I become it, and then it comes back as a ripple. I need to let go on that aspect, on that level, and then it comes back. And things are liberated and again, and I'm being drawn, and I'm always being guided that way, that I fuse my life force which is so corrupt and obstructive, so that the essence of the life itself, herself, can move through, because now so much obstructions being held, it's almost like they created a sort of like dense grid with so much tentacles of the darkness that this life field, like field of life itself, couldn't move through. And that's why creation pillars had to come here, because literally we were called. Is the essence of Gaia said, come, I'm at this stage now, I will need assistance. The same way we call for our spirit guides. We work as one. No one in truth is an individual alone. We are individuals in a way that we have to build our own mastery, our own sovereignty, because no one will do that for you. You don't just unify from a space of false unity. It's already natural for us to be one. But the way we participate in that unity, in that union, has to be met from our own mastery, has to be reflected from who we truly are in our space and our mission in this vastness of all, in this wholeness of all. So because the energies are so much like this, right? We're finding our space, and the moment you liberate something, new potentials will be presented to you. So I'm noticing that if there's an obstruction, first wave will be me meeting it physically, and then the physical resolve won't happen, like it was with PayPal. I worked on it for 3 days, nothing resulted from it. But I planted seeds. If I didn't do anything, no one would respond to me. No one would even, work on my case, what's actually happening. I had to be really persistent. At a certain point, I felt like I can't do it anymore. Nothing's happening. I have to give it up. I'm just letting it go. And it was so difficult, because you don't let go here from the mind and just saying so or affirming it. The energy wanted to, break through me. I was starting to arise, and I just I exploded. I talk about this life giver mission in a way from this perspective in my newest Goddess Love session, which will be out on Patreon in June. It will be the session for the month of June. For those of you who are there with me, I will go much deeper there. And it's just, you can't believe your eyes when you liberate an energy and then new potentials come. And this is why we're here. We're not here to fix the old and say, oh, this has to go, this will stay. I don't want this to happen. We don't want that kind of, system to carry these kind of expressions. We don't want 5G to come. We don't want this to come. But in truth, we can't meet that from a space of control, because it's still holding on to the old reality, and no one will ever ascend to the aspect of giving life to the new from the true space of Christ, like I said before, not a spoken word Christ, but that ability within us that we can birth new realities. But it's not a wishy-washy. It's not just, oh, I hope for the new earth. Nothing was ever born of hope. There is a strong necessity for prayer, for daily. I'm doing daily connections with the team now, because it's so needed, with the angelics, to sit to hold the space. Prayer is important, but mostly the conscious energy movement that comes as a conscious guidance, as divine guidance, that is the result of both doing the physical application and then the higher work, because I need to always meet energies from this space. Plant the seed in the physical, then you have to rise above it. It's how the feminine mastery and the masculine mastery meet, right? The allowance, the acceptance, and then the transcendence. But most people now don't get it, because they only want to transcend, or they only want to keep this reality. So you have the lower, the higher, but never a meeting, never a convergence. There cannot be an anchoring, and this is why the Illumined ones are saying it's so difficult on the planet, not because of the planet itself, because the planet is fully ready. They're saying because of the amount of people that are still holding on to what no longer is, right? So we have from the third density people who are clinging on to earthly pleasures that they want to seek out in a way, an amount that I haven't yet noticed before in all my 30, almost 6 years of life here. And then on the other hand, you have these people who only want to move upwards and be spiritual and hold, this higher rise above it all perspective, which never really meets life, that wants to be met on a new level. This is this meeting, this is the meeting, this is the merging, the convergence occurring. And Like I said before, those of you who know that already, you feel it in your heart, that's the truth. That's how the goddess births. Not from below, not from on high, but it's a meeting. And we have to, in our vessels, create this meeting point. So the energies are super intense. You will notice, I'm noticing my phone no longer works. It keeps on dying. It keeps on, not dying like, you know, battery when it dies, when it's empty. But it keeps on resetting. And then again, and plugging in and out. And I was like, what's happening? And nothing starts working again. No apps, nothing. I couldn't even download a new upgraded, what's it called, software, right? I just couldn't download a new iOS, right, for Apple. Like, what's happening? You know, I know I have an older phone because I don't like the big ones, because I'm not in that consumership and what they're trying to sell us, these phones that look like machines, AI, no thank you. I like to keep it simple. And, you know, I wish I was without a phone. That would be my ultimate reality, because I'm already without a car for over half a year now, and it's just amazing. I can go places, that's true. We don't have good bus and train connections here where I am. You just can't access it here. It's like every hour and not all the time. So it's not easy, right? I'm not saying it's easy, but I consciously chose it because I was chosen to do this inner work that I need to sit with until it was complete within my being. That's how I was guided. And, you know, it's a choice. And I only use my phone for emails, or sometimes when I'm out and about, or to make photos and put on Instagram. Otherwise, I really don't use it. I don't like to use it. It feels obstructive to me, as if it wasn't already enough challenging, right? But I like to listen to music, because in this realm, music is like my lifesaver. It keeps me on going. It's beautiful music. And when the phone keeps on dying, because our fields are feeling this upsurge of the energies, when the energies are very unstable, our devices that are just our reflections, our extensions, will start to react. And ever since I started working with the fire body, my phone it doesn't work properly. And I'm noticing, wow, this is it. Now imagine us growing even higher in vibration. We won't be able even to use the technology we once were able to use, because it's no longer our match. It's not just people who are resonant matches. It's our whole life. It no longer matches. It doesn't resonate. That's why so many of us have been felt so squeezed, because this life so dense has felt oppressive for so long now. It didn't meet and match our vibrational embodiment. And it's not about, oh, poor me, right? Woe is me. I'm such a highly vibrational being in this world. No one gets me. It's not about that. It's just about consciously acknowledging life can be so much more. But no one will do this if we just wish it to be. You can't wish a reality away. You know, when you're in the spirit realm, you recognize yourself as a conscious creator. You remember this. You know you're a badass. But as a human, you're like, oh, woe is me. I can't remember my gifts. How do I do that? I'm not trying to be so serious here, because we all get like this, including myself. But the thing with me is, the moment I say it, I already see it. I'm like, come on, you know who you are. Do the magic. And then I do the alchemy work. Bam, you know, shift occurs right away. Sometimes super fast. Sometimes, you know, you have to let the energy flow and reverberate backwards when, you know, it's given time. It's a process. This is not like, oh, now I've did the energy work, now let it come back to me. I'm expecting it to be so. You have to be completely benevolently free of all expectations. Even when you give your best and your utmost, you still have to meet life from an aspect of unconditionality, that you don't demand to receive backwards. We don't demand from life, because life doesn't demand from us either. And sometimes when we have these harshest challenges, it's not because the dark forces are conspiring against us. Darkness is just a natural response of life that was captive for so long on this planet. So it's just a result. And it's the darkness of life. It's just resurging, and we're needing to liberate it. So instead of complaining, we have to do the alchemy work. And the only way to do that is to be a truly activated life force, transparent, transfusing being. And that's why I was doing that. And I don't do this work for self-promotion, or, you know, I have a very small amount of people watching. I don't do it for money, but I'm doing it out of necessity, because I'm guided this way. That's why Spirit has provided these tools and teachings through me, so people can actually start doing the work of life force mastery. And it's just going to get more and more wobbly. Energies. It's the reactive field right now. It's in this. We're living literally in the world of transition. We're not in this world of full illumination. Perhaps from within you felt that, but living in the world, when you're looking at it objectively, you see what you see. You're on a planet shifting densities, right? Rewriting templates. And no new agey teaching will ever give you the full tools. Life will teach you. Life itself will rework you, remaster you, repolarize everything. And it will also strip us bare naked and take everything from us, but it will give us so much more. It will give us our abilities back, our natural sovereign abilities that we before felt we don't have. That's why being squeezed, it's that which creates an automatic response for change. Because when you're being pushed, right, eventually you push back. Not in a negative way. It's not like I'm fighting, I'm struggling, but you naturally reverberate backwards, and that's how your gift comes out. Like a beautiful flower. First it's raw, then it gradually remembers, oh, I can do it gently, and it evens out. It becomes more and more balanced and integrated, but sometimes it comes out in a raw format. So those of you who are real raw, you will notice these outbursts of energy. You might cry like one day or the whole day, or you might feel hysterically laughing, or one moment you're jumping out of joy, and then you're like, wow, and it is like this. It's like birthing pains and contractions. It's meeting these, how to say this, how to put it into words, but it's literally sometimes these birthing pains come this way. And when you're with the energies, you always feel, okay, I'm with the energies. I'm serving the life force of the planet through the Mother Goddess and her beautiful divine plan of perfection. And I don't choose to say what should be and what shouldn't be. I just go along with it with absolute faith, unwavering trust. Even when conditions seem to be so lifeless, there is life. Even in death, there is life. That's what the Christ have shown. Remember, that was his main teaching. Resurrection, life. That's what the Isis represents. From the decompose or whatever, these body parts creating a whole new body. But we're not using the old, we're using the components that are triggered as a result when the old is dying off. And we're taking the energy that has been sort of like as a spiral came out, because the old always has a teaching in it once it's complete. And we take that spiral, we weave it into a new form of magic, we push it forward into new life. We don't have the recipe how to do it. That's the magical part of it. No one knows, even myself. It's walking blindfold, and yet it's in the darkness you feel the most. That's how blind people develop their sight, their inner sight. They can sense everything around them. So for me, they're absolute masters in a way, because they were deprived of their certain sense that is so anchoring us in the density. And yet it's even a higher mastery to see everything densely and develop the inner vision either way. Even with your full sight, right? Because it's easy. You're deprived of it, so you have to. It's naturally evolutionary, happens this way. But you see everything, and still you, in parallel, develop this inner higher vision. That's true mastery, guys. That's amazing. That's what we're doing here. And those of you who've stayed this far along the journey, after nine whole years, guys, I'm in completion stage. That's why I did these videos, that now this journey is sort of ending. And every ending is a new beginning. And so in this last stage of this video, I just really want to wish you that, you have a beautiful summer, because I feel this summer will be feisty, juicy, triggering, and all that was already is just going to deepen. And we're going to have the eclipses in July. So it's going to get super intense. So I will do ascension updates, as always, on my Patreon page for those of you who wish to join at any time. If you're called, that's where the knowledge is. That's where deepen information is. So each month now I'm doing a Goddess Love session. I'm doing an Illumined Beloved reading and channeling. And I'm doing also, as always, for the advanced level, a mastery course. And now we're just finishing up the Trinity of the Life Force videos. Well, Trinity of Life for Organic Ascension. Then the next one will be about Cosmic Ray Mastery. And I also want to do one about the unification of Christ, the feminine and masculine, and the mastery of life and death. So that's kind of like what I see through the summer. And then no one knows what happens in the fall. It's going to be, as always, new beginning for me, at least, because I'm born in the fall, in September. I am a Virgo, servant to life. And that's where always my new solar year begins, right? That's my new year. And it's where people also go to school, right? We go to school. I'm always in school. I'm sure many of you feel that way. I'm always in training. So what Spirit has also shown me that many of these training things that we did, because a pillar is not born out of, like thinking how energy just moved through you. It's like you're literally moving the energy. You want to know how many mountain peaks I climbed in my life? Maybe not the last year, because I wasn't able to. But before, I literally climbed and walked and got lost in the forest, and I have to find my way. And Spirit tells me it's all training, because you're fusing with life that is organic, not life that is lived here. This artificial intelligence now is super dangerous. People might be masters and with apps in their phone, but once the phone goes down, what's left for them is like, when did this reality change so much? What happened? Maybe that reality won't be there anymore. I'm just saying, all the devices, all that is born out of technicalities that were held together by certain density, no one knows when and how, but they will be transcended eventually. And when you're weaving your life through the magic of the spiral dance of the mother, you're going along with that which is organic. You're never going to be harmed. You're always going to be with that which is natural. And that's how the survival of the fittest is truly what it's truly about. It's not, may the strongest survive and the weakest die. No, it's about the adaptability of the true evolution that's natural. So for me, that's truly organic ascension. I invite you to have a beautiful retrospective in your own life at this moment, what's happening. There's many things we're contemplating on, considering, moving through. It's just amazing. Besides all the energies that are always like this and jumping and shifting and turning and wobbling, it's also, of course, affecting our inner resources and the things we truly now want to commit to, and the things that are leaving, or the people that are leaving, and just knowing that the absolute is that step that's right ahead of you, that's right in front of you. That's that, and where you are now, anchored in your truth. That's always going to stay. No matter what you feel is taken from you or withdraws itself or removes itself away, that's it. That always stays. No one can take that spark. No one can take that next step for you. That is you. That's your path. Embrace the journey. So enjoy. I'm not sure I'm going to be here through the summer. I will be on Patreon though, so you can always meet me there. I have a tiny but very eager group, and we're there. There's a space. There's a space to be met, and with so much joy and communion with Spirit as always. And the Elohim Family of Light also says, beautiful blessings to all of you. It is intense, but it's beautiful. When you tune into that truth of the absolute, without a piece of doubt, you will know. Connect to that space. You are that space. Enjoy our new birth in whatever way and form it presents itself in each moment. Thank you for watching. I'll see you when I see you. Enjoy. Bye.
Magical.